stuck in the mud, don't know which step to take. I don't know if I'll make it before I break. Take me, friends, I am yours. I'd buy you for all the money in the world. La 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 la.
What does it mean to correct society, really?
Yeah, that's the other.
Like you want to go outside and like everybody, like, you know,
No, I
because I
think
go
you got-
outside and I hate people,
No,
right?
I think you got to
stepping on my toes.
I think you got to decide what you want out of life. You know, if you just want to, if you find satisfaction in just accumulating more stuff.
Yeah, but I get on the subway and I don't even see that anymore. People don't look like they're being satisfied. at
No,
all.
they're not. It's all empty. It's all
Yeah.
hollow. You buy a Mercedes, you know, within a month, you're sick of it.
If.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
And it's not really getting us anywhere. And every time we have an election, right, we have people coming up and saying the same exact thing over and over. Nothing ever changes. It's the same game.
Right.
But
It's
that's
just
right.
getting
That's their agenda, to correct something, right, to make something better.
Yeah, but it always fails.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you can look at socialism and capitalism, and you come to realize that, you know, the what they were trying to do, you know, was in order to do good, but eventually what happened was that, you know, they both turned out to be like dictators or something like that. Because
Too good? What kind of good? No,
I
everybody
know.
was fighting for themselves, you know. Like,
yeah, I know,
come
but
It's
you
all
know,
power and ego.
But, well, here's the thing, you know, some people still favor capitalism, and some others, you know, if I talk to somebody who came from another part of the world that was in a social system, they don't want that either. So it's like, well, where do we start then? What? How?
Everybody thinks they want more and more.
Well, they
And
do
that's,
want more.
that's the nature. That's the nature of the ego. You just want more and more.
Well, of course.
But even when you curb that, like you do in a socialist, you know, in a socialist environment, it's not like it really goes anywhere. It sustains itself for just a brief period of time,
it's
and then it
just
implodes.
And then it
the
fades out.
people that want
Oh, no,
more and
you
more
want-
are in power. That's socialism.
Okay, right. So you
As we know
first
it.
more and more like in terms of stuff, then there's more and more in terms of power, then there's maybe more and more in terms of something else. So yeah, it seems like we're always chasing something.
But, you
Right.
know, at least, you know, you do still see that there is some sort of lack of deficiency, that people are still looking for something. So how do we, you know...
There's a general sadness out
approach
there, I think. There's
that
like a general
audience.
disappointment that I see. You know, people don't go to vote anymore. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
they don't, you know,
true.
they don't care. I don't
Okay.
care.
Because nobody believes
I
that
know it's-
anything's going to bring real change.
Right.
Nobody believes in the system anymore. The system's corrupt. All the systems are corrupt. If you talk about the political system, it's corrupt. The monetary system's corrupt. Even what they drown themselves in, people, you know, the sports corrupt. They're taking steroids. They're
Right.
Everything.
There's nothing that's pure in the world. There's nothing where people find, you know, peace within themselves. And I think that's what people are looking for right now.
So we can agree that we all see that, right? But I see people out there that are impressed by advertising. They look on TV, they want to get slim, they want to get fat.
But it
they
looks like
just
that's
wanna-
all the only thing they have.
Right.
I
But
mean, because if they
It's
go
not-
away from that, they have nothing to talk about. I mean, I see that every time I go and see friends.
it's telling them what they should want when they don't really
You
want
watch
it.
television, there are 400 stations and nothing's on.
Let's get to the root of the problem,
Right.
and that is everyone wants some kind of change. Nobody knows where to get it. People try all kinds of reform, political reform, economic reform. The financial crisis right now, that's just, you know, as clear an example of how the system doesn't work.
Even
The game is rigged.
Even people are switching religions.
Switching religions, trying. I don't know how much that's doing for them because they're just switching back.
Yeah.
You know, they're trying a little bit here and there, but nobody's ever at any place for too long.
Yeah.
They always try something else because there's ultimately no fulfillment wherever they go. So why is it that we can't find any means to correct society? Every return, whether it's a spiritual path or, you know, economic, social.
But have you also noticed
Education.
that when those changes are made, it's taking a lot shorter
Well,
for them to immediately start looking for something new?
No, because the changes never work. I think there's a
Yeah,
more
but it's
fundamental question.
What I meant was is that
People-
it's happening a lot faster.
Yeah, people don't
That's
know.
true. People are realizing they're stupid a lot faster.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, really?
Yeah.
But people don't know what they're looking for. I think that's the fundamental problem. If people knew what they were looking for, then they could unite around something or try to find that thing. I think people are just searching at this point.
Some of them, they go recycling. They find some sort of something to do to make sure they get out of this somehow,
Occupy
right?
themselves.
Right.
Just occupy themselves.
Right.
Make it passable.
I mean,
Make life
Passable.
passable.
It seems like a good alternative, right? Let's start consuming less. Let's start going back to nature. Let's start planting organic. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Well, they found that from wanting more, having these big McMansions and big cars, they got no satisfaction.
Right.
But they're going to find that with less, they're going to get no satisfaction either because something's missing,
Yep.
and they haven't figured out what's missing yet.
It's interesting how we went from having less to having more, and now we're going back to having less, thinking
Right.
that we missed something along the way.
Well,
That's going to pick up quick.
there's a whole nother.
That's going to change quick.
Well, I think there's a whole nother cycle that's happening here that people are failing to recognize. That right now, you know, your parent. Well, I'm old enough to be your parents, but you
Kinda.
know, a generation that lived through the Depression and fought the war, which wasn't even my mother's generation, it was my grandparents' generation, had things really hard. You know, and I was raised by people like that, you know, who lived through the Great Depression, who had different values, different things. And our parents had life pretty easy, especially here in the United States. You know, things were growing. We could do no wrong. There was a lot of wealth being accumulated. Now, all of a sudden, train's off the tracks a bit. Things aren't working. And I think this generation is very ill prepared. We saw how people reacted, you know, in the financial crisis. We saw it's not good. You know,
That's the
everybody.
thing. It's all pointing to something. It's all pointing. It's sort of holding a magnifying glass to us, and we're the insects.
No kidding.
And society is essentially what's being clarified, and it's pointing out that there's something missing. Now, what's missing? The thing is, everyone's talking about it, but nobody really knows what it means. As soon as the financial crisis hit, everyone started talking about we need to work together. We need to do something, a collective unified effort. That is the only way that we're going to escape. As soon as the crisis allayed a little bit, everybody just went right back to business. Everybody's
Who's the
cruising.
next American Idol?
Pretty much. The thing is, though, and this is important, it's interesting and it's important. Even when things were going really bad, and it really seemed like that, the world financial system is about to crash, and there's just no going back. And you had all those G7s, G20s, they would come together and they would try to work something out, and they weren't able to. Even knowing that things are about to come crumbling down, that their countries are just going to go into a recession the likes of which they've never seen, they still weren't able to do anything together,
Mark.
to come to any sort
But
of
there's
agreement.
also
Let me-
a lot
let
of
me- let me
people
tell
that
you a
aren't-
big
There's a lot
secret.
of people that are not aware of this.
Yeah, no. Well, I'll tell you even a bigger secret.
Okay.
Nothing's been fixed. Nothing's changed. What they did is they just printed a lot of money, and they put government guarantees on everything, and that's what the economy's running on. The banks are bankrupt. This is not working out. And when the other shoe drops, it's going to be a very, very
Well,
interesting time.
That's, but it's not like I expected anything else. I'm using it as an
No,
example.
but you were talking about unity.
Of course.
You know, unity, at least from what I've learned, unity is we could talk about unifying, people unifying, banks unifying, monetary systems unifying. But what I've learned is that if you're unifying without the force of the creator, without the upper force, what do you got? It doesn't work because we see it all the time. And this is what I've gotten from my studies.
Correction of society. It always brings us back there. The only way we can correct society, because it goes right back to what you said just now, unity without the force of the creator or with the force of the creator, it sounds a little bit abstract to me right now.
It sure does.
However,
Right,
if we break it down and if we realize that there is a certain process that society is going through, and we need to go through these failed attempts at correcting ourselves, at correcting whatever problems are arising, and we have problems, we have crises at every single aspect of society. It's that magnifying glass telling us that whatever you guys are doing isn't working. And the only way that you're gonna get it working is to make sure that not only that you work together, because we've tried that. We've come from the Eastern Bloc. We know how all that turned out. And not through, individual freedoms as the West has tried, and that's all kind of going, that didn't really work out either. And no system, no financial, economic, political system ever tried so far has worked out. We're always looking for something else. It is only that force, what the Kabbalists tell us, guiding us through the light, essentially, that we can attract in order to make us unify, in order to make us one, as we once were. That is the only way that this huge problem. I don't even know what else to call it. It's a rift. It's some kind of a divide that is otherwise insurmountable.
I can see what you mean, but it sounds a bit religious, like what we're trying to build one world, one religion, one government. But no, I understand the point that you bring.
I don't disagree with that as long as the system is ran correctly. But the question,
yeah, but isn't totalitarianism the same thing?
No, I don't disagree with that. But the question is, how is this going to happen? And the other thing is this most definitely is pointing out to everybody. So this is one big giant magnifying glass.
But I think I know what he means in a way, because you see, when people are afraid of authorities, they're not doing anything. When people are afraid of God, they're they kind of behave differently. It's kind of like a conscious thing, and if it's based on a belief, like let's say I believe there's a God, then that's religion. A lot of people do
accept the word consciousness, though. Anything with consciousness.
I think a lot of people accept. I think a lot of people accept that there's a higher force. I think people are starting to accept the concept that we're all connected in some way, shape, or form, but people don't know how to actualize it or realize it.
Well, look at a human body. You have billions of cells. They're all individual. Every cell is essentially egoistic.
How many cancerous cells does it take to kill the body?
One. And what's a cancerous cell? A cancerous cell is the one that doesn't serve the entire body, doesn't bestow to the rest of the body, but takes for himself. And only one cell.
That almost sounds like pretty much what's happening in this world.
With everyone is a cancerous cell. But you don't have to worry about it being religious or political or anything, because in a body there is no such thing. You have the brain, you have the heart, you have the lungs, you have all the organs that perform the functions that they're meant to perform. And there's no inequality there. There's just certain functions that need to be done.
Maybe I've been studying too long, but for me, if you don't have the creator in the mixture, none of it works.
But that's the only way that it's gonna work. Absolutely. But the only way we can get back to the state of being one, just as a body is one naturally, the only difference is we need to build this body that we all are parts of. That's the only difference. Otherwise, it's the same thing. Our body is a projection of the spiritual body.